You can think of money as an obligation only once you have the money.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't not be making money and say, you know what, if I have the money, it'll become an obligation. It doesn't work like that. I'm a businessman at the end of the day. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a businessman before, but now I'm a businessman. But, I also understand that business will do well if you take care of your users. Like a lot of people ask me, what keeps you motivated to get up and run Zerodha?
Yeah.
It doesn't. I think we are in the ugly stage of capitalism. Like capitalism of the 80s was I think what was right. I've been so lucky so many times in my life. I've been at right place so many times. So I keep thinking about it, like if I could go back in time and fix something, what would it be? I've decided what I want to be doing the last 5 years of my life.
What is that? तू कितना कमाता है? कितना कमाता है? Hi Nithin, what's up?
Doing good.
This is so bad.
Okay.
Okay, Nithin, so I really wanted to ask you this question, okay? How much money do you earn, right? There's so many things on the internet about it. Like, how much do you actually make?
Just enough.
Is it too much, or do you think about it?
Yeah. No, I think I've stopped bothering about how much money I make. So
Yeah.
it's but I make enough. So I think I've made enough for a while now. So.
I think I've known you for almost 8 years or something at least. More so last few years than the first because, well, but let's start your relationship with money, right? And I've seen you change a lot for the better, obviously, over the last few years. And so let's talk about what did you think of money as growing up, right? Where did you grow up, and what did you think of money? Was it good? Was it bad? Do you really care? What was it?
I mean, so my dad was in the bank, so he took us around, and when he had borrowed money for a housing loan for a house. My mom used to teach Veena. She used to do, she did flower arrangements. So there was my mom has always been very enterprising. She's been trying to, find whatever way to, kind of do some kind of a business. And I call it busyness, but she calls it business because, she didn't optimize in terms of how much she could actually make. She used to do stuff many times just to be keeping herself busy. So my dad had invested in Reliance IPO. So for me, I knew when it's a bull market, when he used to look at the newspapers, to see the price,
Volume shockers.
Not volume shockers. I mean, when the price is going up, he would see every day. When price is going down, he wouldn't look at the newspaper. So I knew that,
it's not in a bull market.
It's not in a bull market. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I think I started trading when I was 17, 18, and it was greed. And, I mean, if you go back to my bedroom when I was 17 years old, it was, posters were of a Porsche, there was a Rolex watch, there was a house with a swimming pool.
No pretty girls.
No pretty. I mean, come on. Who puts pretty girls on posters in your room, right? Those are in the books hidden, right?
Right, got it.
Yeah. So then there was the Rocky movie poster, and so I mean. And Mark Knopfler's, Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits, right? His poster. I mean, these are all things I wish to become, So I wanted to become a great guitarist. I mean, Michael Jordan, of course. I wanted to, play basketball.
Yeah.
I wanted to, have a body like Sylvester Stallone. I wanted to then have all those, material things as well. So, which is, I mean, some stupid targets, so.
But you did go through this, right? You had some sort of this vision board thing that people talk about. I want this, which is your posters, and I want to make this.
Today you can say, it was a vision board and all that bullshit. No,
I hate that too. But you did say, okay, this Rolex is cool. It'd be cool to own one.
I mean, everyone does it, right? I mean,
exactly.
I mean, it's not that I did something special.
Yeah, correct.
Everyone does it. But what got me into trading the markets very early was, someone introduced me to it, and it seemed like you can quickly get there.
Yeah.
Right. And I was 17, 18, and I somehow got, I was sold to the idea that you can somehow quickly make money trading the markets.
And you trade pretty often?
At that point, yeah. I mean, I was doing day trading. I mean, it was offline. So, I used to stand behind a dealer and ask him to buy, sell, and penny stocks and small cap stocks. So and that's how it got started. But you know, then I realized that I need to have more trading capital, and then I knew that I need to do a job or I need to do some kind of a business to generate trading capital. So I think when I was 18, 19, I started doing multi-level marketing. I was one of the first few guys of Amway.
I did not know this.
Yeah,
What?
yeah. I mean, like I recently, someone on LinkedIn sent me a long message saying why I should become an Amway member. I said,
You can achieve your dreams, Nithin.
yeah, I mean, he's congratulated. I mean, he congratulates me on Zerodha's success, and then has this whole pitch saying, why I should become an Amway member. I mean, I responded very, like I said, I'm already an Amway member.
Sure.
But yeah, that's the amount of diligence he did
On you.
on me, to get me to become an Amway member now. But yeah, so I did Amway, I did Gold Quest, which went nowhere. It turned out to be a fraud. Which is this gold coins and etc. Right? I mean, I joined, but I never really sold. And so I did some multi-level marketing. Bangalore used to have like a store called Weekender.
Okay.
It used to be like one of those like a very modern, Indian Levi's of late 2000s, early 2000s.
Okay.
So I used to work on the weekends. I used to I used to sell clothes for a bit. And so
if someone entered that store, you'd be there to show them around.
yeah, I show them around.
And you showed them around and you say, what size? You
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
said, oh, amazing. Okay.
Yeah, so I've done a bunch of things. Between my 17 to 21, I think today it's not a big deal because today's kids, a lot of kids do, start working at 17, 18. But back in the day, I was a weirdo because,
Everyone would study, they would go out with friends. Who works?
I mean, yeah, it was not a very common thing. It was not a very common thing for 17, 18-year-olds to, try to whatever, especially from the background I come from. Because, in my family, education's always been the priority, in my extended family. And yeah, me doing all of these odd jobs did seem weird. But I think my parents were very supportive. They said, you can do whatever makes you feel right.
I think that's really important. Let's skip a bit. Uske baad, I know when we met. I think we met 2014, I think. It was already a few years into Zerodha. So let me just take my time to explain this part, okay? I got in touch with Salman Qureshi. He's the best guy in this building, okay? Love him. I'm like, and we were talking and I used to run this market scientist. I think, what's my name saved right now on your phone?
PS Market Scientist.
I wonder what PS stood for.
Yeah, Prateek Market Scientist.
Anyway, so Salman was like, dude, you should partner us and we'll do all of this. I said, this is all fine, but can I meet Nithin? He's like, I'll try to set it up. And I couldn't believe he said that. It was just a shot at the dark. I said, yeah, I'll set this up. And then he said, I think Nithin's coming next week. You meet him at SouthX. I said, dude, perfect. And SouthX, I was there, I was waiting, I was like way before time, just waiting for Nithin. I'm like, he's gonna walk through now. And you walk through, you're wearing this coat and you're wearing this nice LV belt. I'm like, that's an expensive belt. You walk in. I remember you saying, I'm looking after my health and yeah. And then you ordered fish. I think you almost like knew how much protein is going in your body back then. And you're talking about buying a few companies. I was like, man, how is this guy's talking about buying companies? And yeah, I think what happened, right? So now I know you. Now you're in your Ganji, working out, playing basketball, and you just like a while back you even gave back to climate for almost 800 crores back. Something changed, right? Tell me about that part. So, I mean, what happened?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I don't know if you know this, but when you were in Trader G, right?
Okay.
I have interacted with you in a lot of pseudonyms of mine. I had all this bunch of IDs and I wanted to bring it up. So when I met you as PS Market Scientist, so
I was music junkie on Trader G.
Yeah, music junkie, correct. Yeah. No, I remember asking you the ID on Trader G as well when we met. Yeah. So the thing is, I don't think in 2014 we were making money as such as a business. So we were profitable. We were profitable from the second year. but it wasn't profits, where I could sleep well in the nights. It wasn't like I have like a 4-5 year runway, and there was no that kind of a breathing room. And uh, yeah, so all those things I had on the poster, as soon as money started happening, I started going and buying those stuff.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which is, I went bought a Rolex, and I bought a good car. Then,
Was this the Audi?
I mean, yeah, this was the Audi.
You have to know this, that I think after I met you, or I think this is before I met you, there was this photo of you. You're looking on the side like this, okay, and there's Audi behind you. I'm like, यार ये 20-20 करके Audi खरीद लिया. I was like, what? This is so cool. I think I went to Gadi.com or something and saw the specs of the car. I'm like, this is so nice.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I did, like I said, probably at that time, I kind of stretched the budget, in terms of going and spending on these things. And, all that LV Gilby and all of that happened. Today, I can't wear a LV belt because I think, it's in my head, like it just, just carrying those brands, I think brings a baggage in terms of how people perceive you. So I that transition has been very slow and steady, and I think one of the big reasons for this transition in terms of how I perceive money and money as an obligation, not just taking money from someone, making money itself is an obligation as well, right? Because once you have the money in a country like India where there's a lot of wealth inequality, so I think flaunting it is like kind of a little borderline ugly of sorts, and all of those realizations started, it happened slowly and steadily. And I think the big reason for that has been, Kailash, so Kailash joined us in 2013. And, I keep talking about this, I have something called as a K filter in my life. And so the thing is, until K happened, when I used to indulge, I never used to question the indulgence, but I used to regret a lot of times. When I say indulge, like, you go buy something which you don't really need, or, you travel to some place where you didn't really want to travel. Or, I never used to question that indulgence. I mean, I would question in terms of, do I have the money? Do I have to borrow, etc.
Sure.
I mean,
but
that
not first principles. Do I really require this?
like, and and those conversations in my head started happening once I, once K joined, and, maybe 2-3 years in, along with K. And then this whole questioning, do I really need this? Like,
I actually learned this from you. I don't know, like over the years, there's so many things which really surprised me about you, right? Like when I said, hey, you guys should definitely IPO, and then your answer was, it's not really needed. And I didn't really understand that answer. And then I think there was, I don't know if I should say this, we can keep it later, but there's this VC who offered like 1,000 crores or something. and I was like, oh, great. When's the transaction happening? And you're like, it's not really needed. And I was like, hey, you've been living in this house for so long. Aren't you going to move to a better house? Like, it's not really needed. I'm like, what about foreign trips? You're not doing that anymore. You're traveling in India. It's not really needed. I think this all comes from that, right? Like you start thinking.
It is. So it's, even in the business, right? The question of growth at what cost? Like, like everyone wants to grow, but what are you compromising on when you're growing, right? As in, so we've not compromised on anything, in the sense, because when you set growth targets, what happens is, you tend to optimize your decision making to meet those targets. So you end up compromising on something, right? Compromising on something. So we've, philosophically, I think, we've, changed significantly. At least personally, I have changed significantly from 2013-14 to now. And now I think, this whole making money and all, I think is an obligation. I almost think of it as, now that I have the resources to do something, which can be impactful, the onus is on me to kind of do that. And it started with Rainmatter FinTech, right? As in, when we started in 2016, the idea was to grow the, figure ways to expand the capital market ecosystem. While it is for profit investment, in our head, it was always a grant. I mean,
I know this super well. Guys, like some people ask me, so everyone knows, right? Like our biggest backer and only backer is Rainmatter, right? And you guys won't believe, like there's no board meeting, there's no call and hey, what's the growth? The only calls I think I've had with the team and Nithin, and for me it's the same, right? It's not like if I go to Sagar or anyone in the team or Matti or anyone, it's like I'm learning anything less, right? I think everyone is like so in tune with your thinking and everyone's thinking. And it's always been, hey, why are you doing this? I'm like, we will grow 100% this year. Okay, great, but why? Are the users happy? I think these are the only questions we've got.
No, I mean,
But I think that with everyone.
yeah, I mean, even the way we run the business, right? I mean, I don't think we've ever gotten up one day and said we need to do this to generate revenue. I mean, it's been more, I need to do it, if it's going to help the user, right? But the thing is, I'm a businessman at the end of the day, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not a businessman before, but now I'm a businessman. But I also understand that business will do well if you take care of your users. I mean, there is, um, in any country, any place in the world, if you offer something which is good, people will pay for it. Uh, so yes, it's not that we're doing it altruistically, saying we don't want to make money. It's important to make money. If you run a business, business has to survive, sustain, thrive, because
What
only
makes
then the
business?
business will exist and be around for longer. I mean, it shouldn't be that if tomorrow I'm not around, the business is not around, right? So it's important for the business to generate profits. What you do with the profits is a secondary thing, but it's important standalone. The business should
But it's a
make
little
sense.
easier to say that now that like the momentum is like super high, right? Like, and I think of Zerodha, we can like this banking, this the entire finance is open, right? It's just the start, if you think of it like that. But is it easier to say now? Like, isn't it tough to say this when you're at a really small scale, like when you have 10,000 users? Can you think like that?
No, it's like,
Can.
yeah. I mean, it's hard. I mean, the thing is, you can think of money as an obligation only once you have the money. I mean, you can't not be making money and say, what, if I have the money, it'll become an obligation. It doesn't work like that, right? As in, once you have more money than what you really require, is when it feels like an obligation. I mean, it doesn't feel for everyone, but it feels for us here. Saying we have more than what we need to grow the business and sustain the business, so we need to use it to create some impact. Be it helping fintech startups, be it through the foundation, through profits and not profits, working in climate change and livelihood, etc. So I mean, so these are some of the things that we have said we need to use this money for creating impact, and there is also a selfish reason behind it. Uh, See, thing is, I don't know if it's the right analogy. Okay, so the world is right now going through like a real crisis, right? One is climate change. Second is inequality of wealth, right? And these two things can really break the planet, right? As in, I mean, 10 years from now, my son could come to me and say, now, Dad, what did you do about it? You had all the resources, right? You had all the connections in the world. You were at that time. What did you do, you know, to ensure this didn't happen, right? Think of like, not the right analogy, but think of Germany, when the Holocaust was happening,
Sure.
right? That entire generation of Germans lived in shame,
Yeah.
right? And
There's some people who even deny it. It's just total nonsense.
right. I mean, so it's I think this generation, the obligation is on the entrepreneurs of today, or people with wealth today, to be thinking of this problem and doing something about it, because this is going to end. I personally think it's going to end. There's no good outcome of this, right? As in, if wealth inequality continues in this way, there's going to be civil unrest at some point of time, right? What's the point of all the money in the world if you can't walk on the streets, right? I mean, you're already seeing it in the US. Like, like my friends were saying in Chicago, you can't enter a bunch of neighborhoods, right? As in, because you don't know who's going to come mug you, right? Because there the wealth inequality has gone up so much, right? As in, crimes going up, crime is going up in Denmark, in UK, right? So you're already seeing it in some of these developed economies, this what this inequality can do, right? So and this is just going to pick up momentum, right? So I think 5-10 years from now, questions will be asked of people who could have done something today on what they did.
So how could you do the wealth inequality? Like spell it out. How would you actually not solve, but how could you get closer to bridging that
No, I
gap
mean,
over
see, the thing
here,
is,
right?
this problem, I don't think any one individual can solve.
Sure,
Even
sure,
if I had 100 times the money I had, I don't think I can create a dent,
sure.
right? But the idea is to attempt to do something about it, right? The question.
That path look like?
I mean, see, the thing is, so yeah. So I mean, we've picked up a bunch of causes, right? As in, we've said, the two big problems in this country is creation of livelihood. As in, you need we forget that half of this country is below poverty line,
Yeah.
right? And the other thing is climate change, which is and the thing about climate change is it impacts the people who don't have money the most, right? And we will probably pay a little more for electricity We'll have AC in our rooms.
Yeah.
People with money will find a way around climate change problem, only to a certain extent, but they will, right? So we picked up these two causes, and we have said that we will attempt in whatever way to create the maximum impact here.
Yeah.
Right, and the problem is so large, right? It's almost impossible. Our foundation team, now we have come up with a thesis saying there are 6 lakh villages in this country. There are 30,000 clusters of 20 villages.
Okay.
Is there a way to make each of this cluster sustainable? Right, today the biggest reason for carbon footprint, which is biggest carbon emissions happen from food transportation, right? So like think of this, okay? Salmon comes from Norway to China to get cleaned, then it goes to the US, right? And
Is that true?
yeah, I mean, so there is,
There's
like,
also cost which is increased in the salmon, and also like crazy emissions which have happened.
Correct.
And this is throughout the food chain, I'm sure.
Absolutely, so, and even if you go to a small village, right, there, what they consume is coming from different parts of the country, right? Now the problem is this cluster of villages already earns a little, not too much of money. Now if they consume products from somewhere out, whatever little money there
It's also gone.
is going out, right? So you want that money to remain in the economy there, right? So only then that
So their own power, their own food, the education system, everything within that cluster, which makes it sustainable.
yeah, I mean, like a food forest. I mean, grow your own food, etc. I mean, the thing, there's already everything available. It's just that they're not all talking to each other.
This is so interesting, right? Like I think IBM and all these other companies talk about smart cities, and that's such top-down thinking that, hey, what if we added tech to a city? Wouldn't it be interesting? But it's actually the other way around, what you just said.
I mean, in a country like India, right? I don't think you can really. There's a cut, copy, paste model for everything, because in India, the lower half of the country is not even skilled.
But we don't have large villages, right? It's like, how would you even like replicate that? If you have a model village, there's so many villages distributed throughout this country.
No, that's what 6 lakh villages, 30,000 clusters of 20 villages each. So the idea is you're not envisaging one village. You're thinking of a cluster as a cluster of 20 villages. Can one cluster, be growing ragi or millet, or is one cluster, whatever they're growing today. I mean, you don't want to change their behavior. But the thing is, what we've seen, with our experiments is that if you go to a cluster today, the cluster is already producing what is required for the cluster. It's just that they're not communicating between themselves. Like, for example, milk. So we work with Akshay Kalpa, etc. Right? So a lot of times, the milk the community consumes in a village is really coming from outside. It goes, like, for example, a lot of people consume Nandini milk, right? So the milk comes from the cluster. It goes to wherever the unit is, say like 100 kilometers from there.
Sure.
And then it comes back to the same cluster. Right now it comes back marked up on price. There is plastic. There is transport. There's so much of emission. So yeah. So it's not an easy problem to solve. So what we are attempting to do is, can we get people to start talking to each other within this clusters?
This sounds like an administration problem.
It is.
It's an admin problem, efficiency problem.
Yeah, and also the thing is, at the end of the day, the largest impact that can be created is by the government, right? Because small changes in rules and regulations can make this happen much faster. So we are also talking to the government. We're trying to get them to think of this holistically, right? Because today what happens, like, I'll give a simple example, right? Every time anyone says, climate change, everyone says, let's go plant trees, right? Planting trees really solves nothing. It's a feel-good conscience checkbox tick mark, right? But it doesn't really solve anything, because like, there are so many places where trees shouldn't be, like grasslands, right? They sequester more carbon than a forest. Now, we have seen this example around Bangalore as well, where grasslands, they've gone and put pine trees and non-native trees,
and that'll just suck off the
water. It's actually, you're doing more bad than good by doing it.
The soil becomes worse because of it.
So like I said, it's a complex problem.
This is not a money problem at all. Like, of course it is. But like, there's a lot of like admin inefficiency over here that's happening.
And then just getting people to people have to change the behavior as well. Like like a cluster today, the problem is everyone gets educated and moves out of the cluster, like out of a village. They'll come to Bangalore or wherever, right? Whichever metro, whichever large city around, and then the economy back in the village is again doesn't gain anything out of this person coming out of the cluster. So it's there are a bunch of challenges, and it needs someone bankrolling as well. So it's not gonna solve itself.
Tell us the top 5 or 10 places the foundation has granted money to. I think you've allocated some like 700-800 crores to this. I'll say that again. 700 to 800 crores to this.
No, I mean the thing is, the thing is, I mean that number itself sounds big, but I think eventually the plan is to give away most of
Everything
this.
that- I know,
because I mean we have earmarked a certain amount of money that is required for our lifestyles for the rest of the life, and then we have said anything outside that is upside. So and that will eventually be given away. I think in the last year we have allocated 700, 750, whatever, and we have deployed around 350 crores in the last 1.5 years. And some of the things that I'm very like we've done a bunch, but the ones like I'm very close to are Akshay Kalpa, for example. It's what they're doing is they go to a village, take a farmer, turn him into like a model farmer, and get him to use organic ways to of dairy, right? As in today the problem is most cows are tethered to one place, so they tend to pick up diseases very quickly.
Unhealthy.
So then the dairy farmer is just injecting it with antibiotics.
To produce more milk.
No, to
for the
ensure-
disease.
For the disease, to ensure the cows
But that,
get-
of course, affects the milk quality as well, right?
so-
Like you're essentially consuming the antibiotics when you consume the milk.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think people understand one of the big problems, health problems for the world right now is antibiotic resistance.
Yeah.
So where because we have antibiotics in almost everything, in our meat, in our poultry, in milk.
And it's over the counter, very easy. I think abroad it's very tough. Like in Europe, it's very tough for you to get antibiotics, I heard.
Oh no, not that. Antibiotic resistance is where when you keep consuming products with antibiotics,
You become resistant to antibiotics itself. So when you actually need it, it won't work.
it won't work. So I mean these are like I said. So Akshay Kalpa is trying to kind of get the farmer to move away from this whole tethered way of of dairy, and to more humane ways. And
So that means he's not tethered. There's an area allocated for him. It's just better practices, right? So he moves around. He doesn't get the disease because he has a healthy lifestyle.
so the thing is, and the milk, Akshay Kalpa gives back a much larger portion of the revenue generated back to the farmer, and the farmer, so then tends to make enough money to have a good livelihood, which in turn, and then they use that money to help him, have some poultry, have some honey, all done in an organic way.
How do they describe themselves? They train farmers, is it?
I mean, Akshay Kalpa is an organic, like a milk platform, So, but at the back end, what they do is really what is very interesting. So that, I mean, the other one I think people associate well with is so there is this company called Zero Circle,
Okay.
which is making plastic out of seaweed, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
Making plastic out of seaweed. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
so it biodegrades in 30 days, and it's got the same tensile strength as normal plastic.
Is it obviously more expensive than plastic?
So today it is around 30%, 20 to 30% more. But
That's
at
not
scale,
much.
it's not much, yeah. At scale, it'll reduce. But the thing is, there is still no ability to produce it at that quantity, right? Because at the end of the day,
You need seaweed.
you need a lot of seaweed, and you need I mean, it's just starting off, but it is like it's something that people can understand very well, which is plastic is a problem. Everyone understands.
Yeah, single-use
Right.
plastic,
Yeah.
I think.
So this biodegrades in 30 days. So it's actually quite cool. Yeah, I mean, there are.
What's the background of someone who comes up and says, "No, I'm going to make plastic out of that"? Like, are these people
I mean,
who are...
this one she's a researcher. The guys who are at Akshay Kalpa, I mean, I think they're proper madmen. I mean, they were all senior guys at Wipro, quit.
And these are for profit? Like, help me understand. Like, are these for profit, for impact, or like...
Oh yeah, I mean, these two are actually for profit. But the way we have structured is any upside from the profit goes back to the foundation. On the not for profit side, so one of the first things we had done as Rainmatter was like fund a collective, like a farming collective. So near Bandipur, we got like 150 farmers to come together and put their lands together, right? Kind of hit the economies of scale types.
Yeah, because I think the problem in India is what I heard of at least is that they're very small farms versus like say the US, which are massive farms. You have better way to change the soil to actually get better turnover. So you said that's what you've done.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, you get small farmers to come together. It's a big challenge because every farmer will want that large farm to be a certain way.
Yeah.
But find someone locally to kind of sell the idea that you can hit economies of scale, and because you're funding the project, there is an interest to come together. So like in Bandipur, it was next to wildlife, so you had to fence it, and then have put water pumps, and then also get the farms to be not be a monoculture, because a big problem in India is also that farmers think of everything in terms of monoculture. Monoculture is you take one crop, one plant, just plant it across. Now the problem is once you have monoculture, you have to use a lot more pesticides because the risk of pesticide attacking is so much more.
And risk of ruin is higher.
Yeah, because one type of pest can destroy your entire crop. But if it's it's more permaculture principles, so you're not having just one variety of
It's
crop.
like diversification, but on the farmland.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's exactly like portfolio diversification. So so you reduce your risk and the impact of monsoons, etc. Otherwise, for most farmers, right, they're typically just one bad monsoon away from going below the poverty line. Yeah, so I mean, like I said, this was something which was our first project we funded as Rainmatter. So.
Nice. Any other you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I can keep going on and on about this.
You spent a lot of time on this, I'm sure. Like
no, the thing is, I have more questions than answers right now. So I mean, we're lucky that we've Samir, who heads the foundation, and there's a good team.
How did you find Samir? Tell me that.
Well, yeah, I mean, so after this farming collective, actually, it was before the farming collective. So we kept thinking about it, what to do. We were supporting a bunch of NGOs, and then we said, what, we need to get our hands dirty, and so we found this opportunity to restore a piece of land which is next to a forest. So not very far from Bangalore, we bought like this 100-acre piece of land, and there was a forest adjacent, so we said, we're going to restore it, we're going to rewild it. The guy who had this 100 acres was planning to turn it into a villa project, and we thought it's going to be a disaster.
I'm sure this was on the spot. I'm sure you didn't plan this. You were there for some other reason. You said,
No, I mean, the thing is,
I'm buying 100 acres of forest.
no, not like that. But we were looking for a restoration project. We said this is when people talk philanthropy, and especially around climate, right? Like I said earlier, the easiest thing that everyone associates with is either reduce plastic or
plant trees,
or create forests, etc. Right? So we said we'll do it. So when we went to that piece of land, Samir used to run a campsite in that piece of land, and he has a company called Lingo. So he tries to create, help pieces of land which are very crucial that they exist in the same way, generate some revenue and not be turned into commercial projects by creating campsites.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, we went to that thing, and I happened to meet Samir because he was there. And then we started talking. And Samir also, was working at Yahoo, etc. And one day he quit. And
oh, okay, he's like the monk. Okay.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So one of those, flip from the other side types. And yeah, so that's how Samir happened. And then yeah. So we've been, I've been right now not interfering, and I've just been more like a.
So he finds projects, you also find projects, then you evaluate.
Yeah.
Sometimes the science would not be clear, right? So Saga was telling me you have like this team of scientists also that you consult.
Right.
Tell me about that.
No. The thing is, it's a collaboration, right?
Yeah.
I don't think so. The problem itself is so large, and there are different ways to solve for it, and there are so many second, third order effects, right? As in, the thing is, like a lot of people ask me, what keeps you motivated to get up and run Zerodha? Right?
Yeah.
I ask the same question to every like a big guy I know, in the sense. And every time I come across like some some guy who's been at it for like 30-40 years, I ask the same question, which is, how do you stay wired? Uh, I think for me, it's been, like every morning I get up and think that if we as Zerodha did well and we help people do better with the money, India financializes. If India financializes, more money will back Indian entrepreneurs. If more money backs Indian entrepreneurs, more local wealth creation will happen. And local wealth creation happens, it'll be more inclusive. That means, only not a few people will make money, but, it'll be more inclusive.
It doesn't leave the country, etc.
Right? But the problem in all of this is the second order effect is, if you're solving, one of the reasons India is low down, way down in this whole carbon emitting countries is because, we are a poor country, right?
The moment we become okay,
we'll start emitting more, right? So now if you solve for the, like
the carbon emission now, it might
if you solve for, like
prosperity, you're actually ruining the planet.
You'll actually increase the emissions of the. I mean, so I am, like I said, I have more questions than answers.
Yeah.
So I'm like, on one side as Zerodha, I think it's important to solve. The country has to get wealthy, but I also understand if country becomes wealthy, our emissions will go up. And if India and China were making as much money as per capita GDP as the US, there would be no planet today. It's because we are at $2,000, China is at $4,000, US at $45,000, and they emit 10 times more. So the problem with humankind is, I think, which is something that I realize again, being around here, is that, there is, we're all very greedy of sorts.
Yeah.
We always continuously want more. We want to grow bigger. We want to make.
It's just how evolution, right? Like, I think our amygdala and our brains just want to either fight, flight, or just grow.
I think it's the thing is, I think right now, capitalism, right? I think we are in the ugly stage of capitalism. Like capitalism of the 80s was I think what was right. It was more, like over the last 20-30 years, with the growth of VCs and Ps, like, people who are ready, who want to grow at any cost, right? And that has kind of seeped through like everyone. Like,
growth every month, growth every quarter. It's just getting worse, right?
And there's no end to it.
Yeah, there's no end to it.
Like, like you could be Facebook at $500 billion market cap, but their investors want it to become $1 trillion market.
Yeah.
You could be Amazon at $1.5 trillion.
And the new investors entering
Right.
at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like, you always tell me this, like, if someone enters at, Tesla was at one point was what 700 billion. You didn't say Tesla, I'm saying Tesla, but 700 billion, like, someone wants a 10x return on that?
Right.
I mean, I wonder what story was sold to the investors to actually make that happen.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is. The world is in a very tricky spot in terms of money because it's so concentrated in terms of wealth, and the wealthy guys want to continuously keep generating more and more wealth, and there is only so much resources out there. So yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like I also write a lot of times, I keep telling this to Kay as well, that like what I talk in terms of climate change is also borderline hypocrisy, because I don't follow through with all my actions in a similar way. If I really cared about the problem as much, I think a lot of things I say and I do, I shouldn't be saying and doing. Saying
Nithin,
maybe,
I mean,
but
at least you're doing it, man. Like, I think a lot of people preach on, like, especially LinkedIn, my goodness. And at least you're doing something about it. Like, I mean, I'm sure you talk about this if you talk to a lot of founders, or you just completely alienate them. You're like, wo to theek hai, what's your margin? Right? Like, so just talking about this, I think, like.
yeah, no, I mean, I think I've realized that, I need to peer pressure.
Yeah. Do you do that? Do you do that too?
I mean, that's the only reason I talk about it.
Any billionaires in the house? Comment niche, okay? Subscribe.
Yeah, because I mean, otherwise there is no reason to come talk about it, right? As in, the only reason I think we've been talking about foundation, our initiatives, etc., is to peer pressure. I think the onus should be on the people who have, to kind of think of those who don't have. And so it is.
Okay, tell me about the ugly side. Okay, so I know one ugly side exactly, and I don't know anything else. Every industry has an ugly side. You talk about the foundation. of the people who want funding. Okay, so I just learned about this from Z only. I was talking to them, and they said, I'm like, dude, how difficult can it be? You have the money, you have some track record, you can see the farm. It's not like a piece of code that you have to check. You can see it, you can see the result. You can just grant the money, right? Like, why isn't it being granted faster? This is great, but why isn't it being just? I was just curious. You're doing a great job, Nithin. I was just curious. Why isn't it being granted faster? And they said, Prateek, there's something called greenwashing. And greenwashing, as far as I understood, was that a company can actually. Tell me about it, actually. You tell me about it. What is this practice?
No, I mean,
And you have to be careful of it, right? Because you can't fund those guys.
no, it's the thing is, I personally think making it was so much more easier than giving it back. It's not even giving it back. It's giving it forward is what, like every time I don't know why I say giving back, but it's,
That's nice. Give it forward. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
so I think it's because when you run a business, right, when you put money in, you can see a result in X amount of time.
Yeah.
Right, but here it's delayed. I mean, I was yesterday talking to Mohandas Pai, who started Akshay Patra, right, one of the founding members.
Sure.
And it took them 12, 13, 14 years to get to a point where they're feeding 1 million kids a day, right? So it's like that. In impact, you can't expect, so assuming we want this farming collective, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just because we have an intent and we are ready to fund it, you cannot expect results in 6 months, right? Getting those 100 farmers
To agree and do it consistently on a long period of time is just super tough.
I mean, and thing is, the problem is, a lot of businessmen, when they try to do philanthropy, I think they try to measure in terms of how they run their business, and it's been a challenge for me as well, right? As in, which is like, I'm like, I'm giving you money. What can you give me back? Like,
I know.
So it's very transactional in nature, right?
yeah.
So I think,
But like an impact report is something that you deserve to get, right? Like, I mean,
no, but it's very hard to measure, and you can't.
and it's not every quarter.
Yeah, and then and it's like I said, there are so many second, third order effects which may not even get captured, right? Like, for example, like a certain organization doing a certain thing could be influencing 10 other organizations to change the way they work, right? Which is an impact which may not be getting covered, right? So yeah, but greenwashing generally is when people claim that they're green while I mean, that they're doing whatever which is green but which isn't really green. Like for example, I think a lot of these electric vehicle companies are greenwashing. I mean, a lot of
Tell me more.
I mean, I'm saying, while everyone, maybe it's cleaner, greener, but in a country like India, right, where our electricity is generated out of diesel or coal, in a sense, either have a generator or we are burning coal to create electricity. It's not really green.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, if it was all solar and maybe then so.
But it is coal power which is stored in an electric battery eventually, right?
I mean, so it is in a way not too different than diesel powered engine. I mean,
Just that the emission is but the emission is obviously there.
right? You're not seeing emission at the.
And it feels green.
Yeah, it feels green, but I think but
so the chain has to change basically.
no, but
That's the
sense,
ecosystem.
people have to still work towards electric vehicles and make sure that it runs on solar at some point of time. We are supporting a bunch of organizations working in the solar space. So I mean, a lot of these guys claim that they're more green than what they actually are. Like we actually, we were speaking to one company which helps people take loans for buying electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Calling themselves like a green company and chasing, like a impact investment.
Impact metric that we're able to reduce commissions. See, CO2 emissions by so much.
Correct. Yeah. So no, it's a challenge. Like I said, I think one of the reasons there are so few donors in this country is that I don't think we trust as much. We trust these organizations as much, because I think in this you have to build trust that this person is going to do okay and give the money. I mean, there is nothing else.
Yeah, correct. It's just like, I think, startup investing at seed or something. Like, you just trust that this guy or girl will probably be able to make it, right?
Right. No, but the thing is, you are willing to take that risk because the reward is like what is like it's a different.
Yeah, correct. Over here, there's no calculation, right? It's
Yeah.
just, I hope they're able to create an impact.
Yeah. I think I mean, one of those things that we are excited about is this social stock exchange that SEBI, I mean, the government spoke about. Now SEBI has given one okay, and BSE is going to start it, which is you can have not-for-profits list on the stock exchange, and like the way you invest into for-profit companies, you can invest into not-for-profits. But when you invest, there's no equity in a not-for-profit, right? So what you're investing in is what is called as a zero coupon bond. So you're donating through the stock market platform, and the reason for doing it on stock market platform is all the audit trails that you get
Yeah.
for profit, you also get it for not for profits, right? Because a lot of people today don't donate because they don't trust. Today if you want,
And it's transparent, right? Like it's on a public platform, which open to scrutiny, which just makes it a trustable platform, I guess.
correct, yeah. So I mean, we are quite excited about this because I think eventually, right, to make a small dent, in terms of impact, I think it has to be a mass movement, right? As in people have to get more conscious. There is this, like in the US, right? People who drive the Tesla
Yeah.
generally emit lesser carbon than people who drive gasoline
Oh,
cars.
because the way that they think about just living.
Yeah, because they're wearing green. They're thinking that they are green. That's why, and Tesla represent their greenness. So their choices in their real life are also a factor of them driving Tesla, right? So the question is, can you get like say 1 crore customers to support a restoration, like a large restoration project on the social stock exchange, right?
And the second, third order of effect of that will be unmeasurable because their thinking is changed.
Yeah, because if you now have 100 units of a Western Ghats restoration projects, you probably you're going to wear that green on you, right?
Yeah.
Right. You will be like, you will think that you are helping the cause, and I mean, we are very excited, saying because that's where we can kind of leverage our Zerodha as a business as well, because as a stockbroker, we understand how the ecosystem works. We also have the customers. So I think, like every person who makes enough should allocate 5 to 10% in terms of giving it forward. And it's very fulfilling. And just
Any philanthropist doing a good job that you say, hey, this guy or this
I think Nandan
foundation.
Nilekani,
Nandan.
yeah, because and both Nandan and Rohini, they're, they've just been doing a brilliant job for a long time, and there are many, but because I keep interacting with Nandan and they're in, they're in town, and I met them yesterday, met Rohini yesterday, and I'm just, in awe with whatever she was talking about yesterday. So no, I think they're quite amazing. But there are quite a few people, but if I had to name one, it would be them.
30, 40 startups? No, must have been 100 by now.
No, no, we've no, I think around 40, not more than that, because we're not cutting like small checks, right? As in so it's 2 crores to 10 crores in that range. So yeah, I think it's probably between 40 to 50, as in like I said earlier, right? I don't know if I should be saying this to you, but I think of all of these investments as a grant in my head. I'm yeah, no, so we're just chasing impact. What you guys are doing through the Learn app is trying to, kind of educate, the Indian audience on money and markets and finance, which is like a problem to solve as well, right? As in, like, there's something that I keep, I haven't really spoken publicly, but, internally we keep talking about this, which is like how, like today's world, right? All the wealth creation is really happening outside India.
Yeah.
Like if you take the startup ecosystem over the last 10, 15 years, I don't think more than 10% of that wealth is in India. 90% of that wealth creation is held by investors. 10% is really typically founding teams and employees. And
you're right.
90% of it is held by foreign investors. So all the wealth creation is really happening outside, right? So in a way, so what are we getting from those startups in India? We're getting jobs. We're getting
maybe ambition that, okay, maybe I can also start a
yeah,
company
yeah.
someday.
Entrepreneurs are more
Entrepreneurs,
celebrated,
yeah.
right? So these companies don't make money, so they're not paying income tax.
Correct.
Right. So they're probably no, they're paying GST, etc. Right. But wealth creation is happening outside. So taxes on wealth creation is
But
happening
a lot
out.
of founders have also moved abroad, right? Like, so even if the founders did something, it's not in Indian bank accounts anymore.
And I think that has to change. I mean, and that will change when the money is local money, right? As in, if the capital was local, wealth
still
creation
here.
will happen here, taxes will be paid here, everything will happen here. So, and so I think, like I said, if Indians are thought risk taking better, I think they will back more entrepreneurs. And like I said earlier, right? As in, so what you guys are doing, really in my head is impact of sources, and so the more audience you reach, the better it is, and um, and I know that somehow in all of this, somewhere, eventually our business as being part of the ecosystem will also succeed. I mean, we'll also gain out of it. I mean, like I said, while we're being altruistic, but there is also like a long-term business plan here saying, for us to grow, the ecosystem has to grow, right? I mean, we don't want to be like a big fish in a small pond, So it's um, that's how we think about this.
This is amazing, man. I don't even know what to say, right? Like at this point, I can't be like, "Kitna paise kamate ho? How much GST do you pay? How much money will you earn? Oh, IPO." I just, let's just talk about green and manure and like, oh god. No, but thanks for this, Nithin. I have a rapid fire for you. You want to read it first, or just
That's all. I mean,
okay, cool. So pro. Okay, sorry.
I mean, you want it to be like a surprise, right?
Actual, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But it's pretty easy. Okay, cool. So I have 6 questions. Rapid fire. Actually, rapid, Nithin. Okay, ready? Okay. What's your unfair advantage as Nithin Kamath, as a person?
I think the philosophies, I mean, the way I think about money and success and all of that, I think I can think of it because of the situation I am in, which happened because of a lot of luck.
Sure.
And I think it's very hard for others to be like that because a lot of them are carrying investor obligations, and whereas I don't carry it. So I can be like it because I don't carry others' obligation.
Yes, I think everyone will agree to that. Okay. What's your favorite holiday destination?
Maldives, so it's 1.5 hour flight. I like snorkeling, diving, and etc. So yeah, so I'm a sea person. So all my holiday destinations are
Water places.
Are water places. So Goa, Maldives, Mangalore, Thailand. I mean, so it's all but Maldives because I love snorkeling and
It's beautiful, like it's crystal clear water.
I mean, it used to be beautiful in all the places, but now, you need to go
Some
find spots. Like if you want to dive, you need, if you want to snorkel in a good place, it's very hard to find. Like I've seen the transition happen over the last 8-10 years, like 8-9 years back, like the resorts I used to go because they had a good house reef, like dead now, So you need
wow.
to, yeah, so you need to go search for, like it's become hard to find places in Maldives to go.
I went there and I learned free diving for the first time, which is really cool. But I forgot that this was rapid fire. Okay, wait. Okay, what's your biggest regret professionally?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a cliched kind of an
Yeah, I
answer.
don't like this question,
Yeah,
right?
no, but the thing is, like I've been so lucky so many times in my life. I've been at right place so many times. So I keep thinking about it. Like if I could go back in time and fix something, what would it be? I don't think it would be anything because I think the outcome wouldn't be where I am today.
And you'd ruin it probably.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would have, I go fix it, then a bunch of other things that happened in my life wouldn't probably have happened, right? As in, and these happenstances are so crazy. As in, like for example, the way I met Kailash, right? Kailash, Abid, Kailash, and another friend Dash, and they were doing a startup, and their house was like diagonally opposite to where our office was. And Abid was walking on one day, he saw a board. His brother had opened an account with us, and that's how he decided to walk in. The day he decided to walk in, I was sitting in the reception.
Damn.
Yeah, if I was not sitting in the reception, probably
would have crossed paths.
So like that, like that small thing, right? I might not have sat in that reception if not for some mistake I did. Maybe I was a little drunk the previous weekend and I came a little late or whatever. Right? So it's So yeah, I keep thinking about it, but I think there is
It's definitely not luck, right, Nithin? I mean, it's not. You keep saying this, but I don't think anyone believes it. It's not luck. I think you thought a different way, and it like really worked out.
no. But the thing is, like, luck is what puts it all together. I mean, see, the thing is, when I keep saying luck, if people don't work hard, I don't think they deserve luck.
Sure.
Right? I mean, that's a bare minimum. When I say luck, I'm not saying that, dude, sit and expect to
just
get
happened.
lucky. So it's not. I mean, I'm assuming that a person's putting, like a lot of hard work, is doing whatever he can, and then luck happening is super important, right? Because I've seen so many of my friends, hardworking, really sharp guys, and luck never happened. So it's important, and for luck to happen, I think one of the ways to increase luck, like couple of ways to do it, is that just be at it for a longer period.
Yeah,
of time.
exactly. Just be there for a long time, and if the universe is random, it will line up at some point, and it'll just look like it's luck.
Yeah, and the other thing also is I've realized that, again, cliched, I guess, which is if you are good to people, the odds of luck happening increases, because the whole logic here is, if you're good, people want good things to happen to you. Like, if I'm good to everyone working at Zerodha,
You become a cheerleader.
I mean, in the sense, yeah, they're wishing that something good happens to me, right?
Correct.
As in, if we are good to a customer, the customer says, you know what, this company is very good to me. I know I need to repay it in some way. When I don't think they're thinking repay, but
Yeah, I
in
know.
their head,
It's a very positive feeling towards that person or company.
yeah. So I think that's also, like it's everyone says it, about this good karma, bad karma, but it's very hard to follow through in life and
Consistently.
and I think, like, today we have gotten to like 10, 11 million users without spending on marketing and advertising. I think that's because our customer, kind of liked the way we treated them, or like we interacted with them. So yeah, coming to your, I forgot, rapid fire. So,
No, that's cool. It's cool.
so yeah, so no changes.
No changes. Perfect. And oh God, I don't know what you'll say about this, but is there a biggest fear you have about money? I'm scared about this thing happening to the money. Maybe to do with the foundation, perhaps.
No, I think all my money problems now is problems of excesses, right? In the sense, I'm really worried about my son, for example,
Yeah.
because like, how do I make sure he's not taking it for granted, right? Like, a lot of people say that Kian is very lucky that he's born to you, but I actually think of it as he's being very unlucky, because he will be treated a certain way, because he's going to have my baggage on him through his life. Whatever he does, he'll probably be called saying, oh, you were born to like a wealthy guy, and you probably money helped you do it. And I don't think he will ever get credit for doing anything. I mean, very easily. Like, you pick up, right? As in, you pick up the Ambanis, you pick up like bunch
I
of
know,
second
yeah.
generation kids. Like, it's
The
very
world
hard.
isn't kind to them.
Yeah, their mistakes will get spotted. They'll it's very easy for yeah. I mean, the other problem here is also that you can take it for granted. I need to make sure how he has a decent relationship with money. So I mean, for me, money is more that. See, I used to be in like, the reason. So one of the things I did, me and Nikhil, we sat together, a few years back, and he said, we have a certain lifestyle, and for the next 40, 50 years, how much money do we require to sustain that lifestyle? And we took it and put it in a place where we can't access it, right?
So you have that set aside already, like long time back.
and the lifestyle, both our lifestyles haven't really. I mean, Nikhil's maybe has gone up a little more than mine, but so
Yeah, sure.
no, but I don't think both of us have spent money on.
Yeah, you
really,
don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so on stuff, and so it's so yeah. So I think that, knowing that there's peace of mind of thinking that money can't really.
I think what worries you more is probably health. Not worries, but you stay and you think about it a lot more, right? That if I'm going to live till 80, like, I better be healthy. Like, I better be walking straight. I better not have back issues. I better not, right? And I think you focus on your health a lot.
I mean, I think I was listening to this podcast recently, and there was this whole, we call it forecasting, right? So he was calling it backcasting. So the question was, how do you want to lead your last 5 years of your life?
Oh man,
Right?
that's
Like, in the sense, think of, like,
Yeah.
how old you want to be. Like, you want to be, like, you want to live till 80. What quality of life you want between
last
75 to
5 years.
80? Like, do you want to be playing? Do you want to be sitting? Like, and then you have to because if you want to lead your life like that, you have to make your lifestyle changes today. Right? And there is, there's no way around it, and like I said, if I'm constantly thinking long term, and not just for business, even in terms of health. So um, I've also realized that as you get older, your body's ability to recover, recoup, abuses is very less.
Yeah.
Right. So so I used to binge drink when I was younger. It's not like I didn't, but now I don't, because I understand, because now I know that it takes me a lot more time to recover and recoup. So I need to take care of my body, because what's the point of all this wealth if you don't have the health, at the end of the day, because eventually, it'll catch up at some point of time.
Yeah. This is to the guy watching this on YouTube like this, and his back is on crumpled. He's like, this is talking to you, man.
Yeah. I mean, see, the thing is, not everyone has to be like, I think, see, there are only, I think, two basic things to do, right? We need to keep moving, and we need to be conscious about what you consume.
What is this 10,000 steps like? Do you think that that's...
Yeah, I mean, whatever works for you, right? As in the good thing about 10,000 steps is it's like people like to, put a tick mark to a checkbox.
Yeah.
Right? So 10,000 steps works brilliantly for that, right? As in, you can have an activity tracker, whatever, phone, and you just walk 10,000 steps and your mood. I think, like, there's a whole new saying, right? Sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah.
It's actually because, people are really, like screwing up their bodies, right? And you'll kind of realize all of this 3, 4, 5 years from now. Right? So, yeah. So when I think generally for health for most people, I think it is, just keep, move every day and move as often as possible. One of the ways to increase longevity is, there is enough science now is to be in calorie deficit, which is
500 calories
deficit. I mean, whatever
or,
deficit, in the sense.
Okay, just don't excess it.
Yeah, in a sense, every day, whatever you burn, try to.
And you actually don't need to count this. I think if you count it for like 2 weeks, you can just tell after.
I mean, I can't. I mean, I've tried. Like every Monday morning, I have this app where I can enter. Right? I think I'll count this week. By Monday lunch, I've dropped off. I mean, I find it like I now made peace that I can't count calories. Right? So I just it's just like generally how you feel, through the day, etc. Right? See, the thing is, I've decided what I want to be doing the last 5 years of my life.
What is that?
I want to be playing basketball. I want to be climbing, mount. Look, I love trekking. I want to be trekking, etc. Right? So, I like, I don't know if you've seen Carl Icahn, right? As in, I think he's 80 plus right now.
Yeah, I have.
I mean, he plays tennis every day for a couple of hours, and extremely successful professionally. Even now, I mean. Even Charlie Munger and all. I mean, like almost 100 years of age, and it still makes so much sense, when the way they talk, they're so sharp, etc. They may not be the healthiest in the way they look.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't look the healthiest.
Yeah, because they've been. Like,
but I think Richard Branson and all seem to be pretty active. I don't know how old he is.
Yeah, I think he's also maybe in early 70s. So
he seems pretty active.
Yeah. So the thing is, one is you need to keep yourself physically active, and two is you need to keep yourself mentally active as well, right? As in. So, because a lot of times, when people talk about health, they generally talk about physical health. But I think what's more important is the mental health, So, because if your mind's not healthy, your body anyways can't be healthy, right? So, it's...
And reflect also. I think people in depression gain weight very quickly. They just look lethargic. And we're not getting sunlight also, man. Like all of us are inside and even work from home. I see they're at home. They're not going out.
Yeah. I know it is but yeah,
it's a choice basically, right?
Yeah, but yeah, coming to your question, I think I know how I want to lead my last 5-10 years of my life. It has to be very active, both physically and mentally, and I've realized I need to make lifestyle changes now, which is just be more conscious about what I eat, about moving, and also the other thing is if you want to be, I don't know if you know this. So once you're 60 years of age, if you have a hip fracture, the chance of you dying in 5 years goes up many folds.
What is a hip fracture got to do with you dying?
Yeah. So the thing is, your bones are fragile. So, a hip fracture can essentially make you inactive of sorts. And I mean, there is data to prove that if you have a hip fracture. So the thing is, how do you make sure you don't have a hip fracture easily when you're old? Which is, you need to keep your bones strong. If you want to keep your bones strong, that means you need to be pulling something heavy. Like the thing is, like if you want to keep your bones strong, I mean, one is the diet, but second thing is you need to be, strength training. There is no other way to remain. The only way to keep strength is by strength training. I mean, it could be push-ups, it could be pull-ups, it could be whatever. It could be squats, or it could be going to a gym and lifting weights. But I mean, there's enough data to show today that strength training directly is proportional to your longevity. Calorie deficit is directly proportional to longevity. I mean, it sounds selfish thinking, that you want to live forever. I mean, live
No, but you want to live happier, right?
Yeah, I
like
mean,
you
it's
want to
just-
live
yeah.
healthier and happier.
I mean,
you don't
that's
want
that's the objective. I mean, the objective is as long as you live as much as possible. And the thing is, in life, you never know, right? What accidents can happen when. So you could just get some. There are so many carcinogenic substances in the atmosphere today. I mean, like everything we're consuming. Like you could get, like I said, you could get any disease, anything. I mean, you can't control that, but whatever you can control, I think. As you get older, I think it becomes more and more important. When you're younger, our bodies,
resistant, it can fight better. And you're also active. I realized when we were in our 20s, we'd move around all day, right? Like now it's just sitting and thinking and just talking to people. If you're watching this, dude, I think the one takeaway from this is you'll write in comments right now, okay? I'm going to change my lifestyle. I'm going to move more 10,000 steps, okay? You can write this right now. But okay, we forgot again. This is rapid fire. And they've written something in Hindi, which I cannot write. I cannot read. Okay. This is completely random. Did you steal money as a kid to buy something? Or this is damn weird question. But did you ever think of stealing from like a grocery store shop or something?
I might have not steal money, but I might have lifted a few chocolates.
Or a piece of gum or something?
Yeah, I'm sure. I would have done that a bunch of times. Yeah, I mean, like when the shopkeeper is looking that side, like there's small toffees in small grocery shops. I'm sure I must have done it when I was younger.
Amazing, Nithin. Thanks so much for your time, man. This was awesome.
Cheers.
I will see you again.
Right.
Like, share, subscribe, guys.